ladies, welcome back to my channel. This is Nailah Abdullah. If you're new here, we talk about overcoming toxic or narcissistic relationships. Today we're going to answer the question, why is it hard to let go of a narcissistic relationship? This is a question that I get all the time. Women are like, I know they're not good for me. I know they're destructive, but why is it so hard to let go? Why am I still missing them? Why am I still allowing them to reach out to me? Why do I reach out to them sometimes? Why is it so hard to let go of something that I don't know that it's not good for me? Let me rephrase that. Why is it so hard for me to let go of something that I know is not good for me? So I'm going to give you 4 reasons why I see, based on my own personal experience, based on my experience working with other women, why it's hard to let go. But as always, I'm not just going to tell you why it's hard to let go, but I'm going to give you some tips on how to overcome that, okay? Because we're not just here about getting knowledge, but we're here about making the transition, the transformation to a healthier, happier, peaceful life with healthy relationships only. All right. So the first reason I believe it's hard to let go of a narcissistic relationship is that either you don't understand that your narcissistic partner cannot change, or you're not willing to accept that truth that they cannot change. For most people, I believe it leans more towards the acceptance, because we have so much information in front of us now, right, on the internet, everywhere, where we can learn about narcissistic relationships. And some people, this might be your very first video about narcissistic relationships, right? But most times you have a little bit of inclination already about what a narcissistic person looks like, what they behave like, what it does to you, etc., right? So you understand that a narcissist can't change, but you're not willing to accept it. And even if you might verbally say that you understand it, right? Subconsciously, you want to hold on to a little bit of hope still, right? But that is actually a stubbornness that keeps us stuck. It keeps us stuck in narcissistic and toxic relationships. And here we're often talking about romantic relationships, but in the sense of being stuck, that can apply to anything, any space that we see is not healthy for us, but we don't want to accept it. We don't want to accept that it is what it is. It cannot change, right? For whatever reason, we don't even have to answer that. We just have to understand it cannot change. When we are stubborn to accept that, we are now sabotaging ourselves because we are being stubborn. Okay? So that is one of the reasons that it's hard to let go. You either don't understand that they cannot change, or you don't want to accept that they cannot change. Now, you may be saying, well, Nailah, how do you know they can't change? Well, one, from a scientific standpoint, narcissism is a personality disorder. Now, yes, most people that we call narcissistic have not technically been diagnosed, because most of them don't see the need to see a mental health professional to even get a diagnosis and to try to work on themselves. However, we're talking really, when we call people narcissistic, we're typically talking about people with those traits, right? But here is the key that I believe will save you a lot of time and agony when you're trying to answer the question, well, how do you know they can't be better? How do you know they can't change? You have to judge a person based on their patterns of behavior. Write that one down. Patterns of behavior. I cannot go based off of what you tell me. I have to go based off of how I see you behave over a period of time. Now, what's working in your favor is most of these narcissistic relationships, my own, which was 10 years, and many other women that I have worked with and have supported, they have been long-term relationships. So you're not new at this. You have a plethora of information to analyze and to look at, to get and see what the patterns are. You see where the highs are. You see where the lows are, right? You see how they breadcrumb you and act as if they're improving, but they really never fully change, right? Or maybe they just change and adjust the way that they mistreat you, the way that they disrespect you, the way that they abuse you, right? You have enough evidence to analyze and assess to say this person cannot change. Either they cannot change or they're not willing to change. But that's not really even our business. What you decide to do with your life is your choice, but I have to determine whether you are healthy for me or not, whether I should keep you in my circle or not, whether I should allow you to continue to have access to me or not, right? So whether you want to say they can change or they don't want to change, the bottom line is people with these personality traits, these destructive, even if you don't call them narcissistic, maybe toxic, these traits, They are not capable, willing to change because this is who they are. So from a scientific perspective, no, personality disorders cannot change. They can, in rare cases, so don't go saying, well, I'm going to be the rare case. Focus on you, sweetheart. In rare cases, some of them can go and seek help and learn how to manage their personality traits to some extent, but they are still who they are. If you think of the animal kingdom, right? You cannot take an alligator and say, if I love him so much, if I coddle the alligator so much, the alligator is not one day going to snap at me. He's still going to snap at you because that's in his nature. Okay, it's who he is. So if you have identified that that is part of maybe your reason of it being hard to let go of a narcissistic partner, that you either did not know that they cannot change, or it's hard for you to accept like this person really can't change, this person that I have given my life to, that I have given so much to, that I have invested so much in, are you really saying this is just it? They can't change? Okay, Nailah, now what do I do with that information? You have to start working on your mindset to remind yourself that this is out of your control. Okay? We've heard it said before, right? There's certain things that we can change, the things that we cannot change, we have to let go of. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy. It's not. But if you want to move on with your life, to have peace, right? To live in your purpose, right? You can't be the best version of yourself if you're distracted, caught up in chaos, and connected to toxic people. You can accomplish some things, but you can do so much more if your space is clear, if the energy around you is good, right? So the solution to that is start working on your mindset to continuously remind yourself. When you find yourself backsliding, remind yourself, this person is out of my control. This person is not my assignment to change. That's not my purpose here. Yes, I'm here to be a good person. Yes, I'm here to serve people and to help people, but not everyone is there for you to change. Even if it's someone that you've loved for many years, even if it's someone that you have happened to have children with, even if it's someone that you really did want to build a future with, whatever it is, sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we give ourselves to people, or we place our hope in people that actually is not our assignment. And the best thing we could do for ourselves is to recognize that and to move forward. Let them go. Okay? It's hard, but it is possible to accept the truth, as hard as it may be. The second reason that it is hard to let go of a narcissistic partner is that you are holding on to the fantasy that you created around them. What fantasy, Nailah? When you got into a relationship, when you get into any relationship, you always visualize how you would like things to go, right? And not just any relationship, romantic relationships, family relationships, friendships, right? We have an ideal view or vision of how we would like to see our lives play out, right? Even if we're not fully conscious, aware of it, right? We do have somewhat, you're not maybe sitting down writing it in your journal, right? Or making a vision board about it. But somewhere in there, when you connect with someone, you have an ideal image of how things will go, right? Now, especially in romantic relationships, you create a fantasy around them. I would like to get married. I would like us to travel. I would like us to have children. I would like us to buy a house. I would like whatever it is, right? I would like us to have family gatherings, reunions together, whatever it is. You have an image. You don't just get into a relationship and you're just playing it by ear day by day. You have a vision of how you would like things to go, how you would like to feel, right? How you would like anything, right? So that is normal and that is healthy. However, when you do get to the point of accepting and realizing and acknowledging that this person has a personality disorder or traits of a personality disorder, or let's just keep it even more simple, their personality is unhealthy for you, right? Their personality, their behavior has been destructive to you, has not been good for you. It is really hard to let that fantasy go. That's very hard, right? I just want to pause there for a minute because, again, I never want you to believe that healing is just easy. It's just do it. It's hard. But why I emphasize that it's hard is because I also want you to see that even though something is hard, it's still doable, right? It's about mindset. It's about mindset. It's about giving yourself the tools, the support in place to help you to grow through the hard times. Okay? But release the fantasy. If you say, okay, Nailah, I had this fantasy, you want to release the fantasy. And not just release the fantasy, but remind yourself that you are, what is the word? You are deserving to have that fantasy. You just don't deserve to have it with the wrong person. You understand? You are deserving to have that fantasy. Doesn't mean that you won't ever have that fantasy again. It doesn't mean that those things can't play out for you again. Or let me not say again, because maybe it didn't play out for you with this narcissistic partner, or maybe parts of it did as they were trying to, manipulate you and make you think that things are good, right? Or give you little bits and pieces of the fantasy that you had. But either way, when I say release the fantasy telling yourself that I am deserving of this, I can have this, but I deserve to have it with the right person. I deserve to have it with a person who wants it like I do. See, that's a big thing you have to understand, is that when you go into these relationships and you have this vision for what you want, when you have this fantasy for what you want, it is essential that the partner wants it too. You see, a lot of times us women, if you're like me, which you probably are if you're here with me, we're ambitious, we're go-getters, and we make things work for ourselves. We figure it out, right? And we enjoy the challenge. But when you're dealing with human beings, that's not a project. Yes, we are here to inspire each other. Yes, we are here to support each other and help each other grow. But the desire to change and the desire to grow originally has to come from the person themselves. There's no amount of inspiring and encouraging you can do to make your partner want it. They have to want it. Maybe they don't know how to change. Maybe they don't really understand what parts of them need to grow. So maybe that's where you come in. But you see, when you're dealing with a narcissistic partner, a toxic partner, they like who they are. They're still miserable, but there's a part of them who likes who they are. They love to hurt others. They love to manipulate others. They love to control others. They love to confuse you. They love to keep you on edge. So they don't have the same intentions you do for the relationship. They're not looking for a healthy, peaceful relationship where you are thriving and growing and they're nurturing you and supporting you and you're doing the same for them. No, they only want it to go one way. Okay? So this is where you have to understand that this is another reason to let go of that fantasy, because you both you don't share the fantasy. You cannot be in a relationship with someone who don't share the same visions that you share. Okay? What is it? It's a salmon that goes upstream. It's going to consistently work against you. That stream, those waves, that current of that water is going to continuously push against you, because you all have two different goals. They may pretend that they have your goal, but they don't. They only do that to keep you around. They only do that to confuse you. So release the fantasy that you created around them. You don't have to let go of the fantasy completely, but it just means that you can't have that fantasy that you created with a narcissistic partner or toxic partner. The third reason that it's hard for you to let go of a toxic or narcissistic relationship, you're afraid of their retaliation. You may not be willing to admit it out loud, because some of us never want to say we're afraid of anyone. However, you have seen their dark side. You have seen them, enrage. You have seen how they talk about other people. You have heard threats or seen threats that they have made towards you, even if it has not been blatant. They have said things that have made you, and maybe this is going to take a little time to put your finger on it, but hear me and then take time to yourself to ponder and think about it for yourself. But they have said things to you that have made you feel unsafe. And that's not normal. You see, in healthy relationships, normal relationships, yes, you can get into an argument. You may even say some things that you realize I shouldn't have said, but it should never get to the point where either one of you feel unsafe, like this person might hurt me, right? And maybe not just physical, emotional, and just hurt you in your life in general. I remember someone shared with me one time where the narcissist in their life was, I think, the mother-in-law, one of the in-laws. And she said something how the in-law called the police to their business to try to sabotage or cause problems in their business. So sometimes people may not hurt you or make comments to signal that they may hurt you physically, but that they may try to sabotage you in some other way, right? So there's something in you that knows that this person is capable of being vindictive and spiteful and hurtful, right? And that can make you afraid of letting go. That can make you afraid of setting boundaries with them, of going no contact with them, because you're afraid of how they're going to respond. And that is completely normal because you don't want to get hurt. And that is understandable. And that is why it's so important for you to decide when you are ready to take on that challenge. You know, a lot of times people say, well, you know, that people shouldn't tell victims, just leave, you know. And I partly agree with it and I partly don't. I think it is unhealthy. I think it is pretentious for someone to hear what you're going through and not tell you to go. Okay? I'm not, if I see anyone in harm's way, I'm going to say, you're in harm's way. You need to get out of harm's way, right? Like, that's common sense to me. However, in some situations, you need to make certain preparations to get out of harm's way, right? So, my solution, my suggestion for that, if you realize, and again, these points that I'm giving you is going to take some time for you to really sit and be honest with yourself, because some of this we don't want to, it's painful to admit it. It's painful to admit that someone that you gave your mind, body, and soul to would be willing to hurt you. That's hard to admit. It's hard to admit to other people. It's even hard to admit to yourself because you feel foolish. You feel like, God, was I that stupid to give myself to someone that would actually do this to me? It's embarrassing. And that's a common feeling that many of us women who have been in toxic or narcissistic relationships deal with, is the feeling of embarrassment. But we cannot allow that to stand in the way and be an obstacle for us to heal. We have to be willing. And here's the thing. You're going through it. I've been through it. Many women have been through it. Many women are still going through it. Some people talk about it. Some people don't. But if I can help you with your feeling of embarrassment, you're not alone, clearly. Okay, I wouldn't even be here making these videos for you if it was just you, right? This is a common problem actually in our society. So I hope that that helps with the embarrassment. But with that said, if you are afraid of their retaliation, start to make preparations to protect yourself. What can that look like? Not telling them your plans, okay? If you're ready to let go, don't tell them your plans. In some cases, you don't even have to tell them that you are going. You know, if you don't live together, you can say, I need a break, and you stop there. Don't go into explanations, right? Because here's the thing, in normal situations, if you break up with someone, it's better to have that conversation to say, I can't do this anymore, even if it hurts, even if you get upset, even if you might get in an argument. But with a safe person, you can do that. With these people, they're not going to easily let go. So the more you try to explain, the more it enrages them and the more access you are giving of yourself you're giving to them, right? So in some cases, yes, it helps to sit down, have a conversation, those uncomfortable conversations. But with these people, so you have to determine how you're going to do that. That's the preparation to let go and prepare for the retaliation. Another way to prepare for the retaliation is to be very selective about who you have as your close support system. Because if you have mutual friends, if you have relatives that adore them and that would quicker believe them than to believe you, who's their own family, these are people that you may have to have to distance yourself from and not include in your escape plan, because they may fall prey to the narcissist's plan for manipulation and to make them be one of their flying monkeys, right? The people that do the dirty work for them, the people that spy and come back to them with the information, or that they're so naive that they don't even realize that they're using them to get information about you, right? So selecting the right support system in the right circle. Okay. And another way of preparing for their retaliation is mentally preparing yourself that I might have to get legal enforcement involved, or getting legal enforcement to come with you to take your stuff out of the house, getting legal enforcement in whatever situation it is. But this is how you can start preparing for the retaliation. What you cannot do is allow your life to be consumed with someone who is narcissistic or toxic. That is not an option. The only option is to prepare for the retaliation. It may be worse than you imagine, it may be less than you imagine, but preparing yourself will give you the confidence to make that step to let go. The other reason that it may be hard for you to let go of a narcissistic partner is you're afraid of being alone. Some people really fear being alone, and you're not alone in that, no pun intended. Okay? A lot of times these relationships are long-term, as I've said before, and you're used to having someone there, even though that someone has been destructive to you. Sometimes these people, narcissists, toxic people, people who have destructive personalities in general, will often make you feel like you can't do without them. Maybe they have even sabotaged some of your relationships to make sure that they are your only person, right? How do you deal with that? Create new circles for yourself. We are fortunate enough to live in an era where we have access to social media. And I'm not saying to create your whole social support system from social media, but you want to connect with the right groups, with the right spaces, with the right people, right? And maybe even in your in-person life, not virtual life, but your in-person life, where you can connect with other people. If you're a part of a church, if you have a dance group, or you can join a dance group, right? If you like art, if you want to join a gym that has, group classes, whatever it is, don't be afraid to create your own circle. You see, a lot of times we believe that our circle is just what we were born into or what we fell into. When I was an undergrad, I started college in a program called EOF. And that was a program where you had people from different towns. And we started college early. For those of you, maybe some of you know EOF, some of you don't. But basically, it's a program for children from inner cities or minorities, and they allow you to start college early, get credits before the semester even starts, and get you to take extra courses and classes to prepare you for college. You stay on campus. It was a great experience. I met lots of people, of course, and it was a great environment too, right? We were all young, very 17, 18, young and excited to start this new chapter. However, as I progressed into my 20s, I realized some of these people, not that any of them were bad, but we had grown apart. And I shouldn't even say grown apart. Some of us didn't really have much in common other than the fact that we were in this program together, right? And I'm bringing that up because that was a lesson that sometimes people are in your life just by default, right? You happen to work together, you happen to be in a program together, you happen to whatever. Family members, you were born into the same family, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the right fit for you. You say we have to select, and we're not taught this, but we have to select the people who are right for us. I look at relationships as rings, right? The inner ring, the outer ring, the outer ring, the outer ring, right? Not everyone got to be in that inner ring, because not everyone is really fully in alignment with who you are or who you're trying to become, right? So not everyone should have the same amount of access to you, right? So with that said, it's your responsibility, my responsibility, all of our responsibility to create our own circle. Don't just have a circle of people around you by default because you were born, you grew up together, you were born in the same neighborhood, you went to the same program, you went to the same church, you went to the same school, whatever it is, right? You can create your own circle. So if you fear being alone, take that authority back, take that power back, that wait a minute, even if I don't have this person who I really know shouldn't be in my life anyway, this narcissistic partner, this toxic partner, I can create my own circle. Yes, it's a little scary. I'm not saying it's easy for everyone, but you can do that in many different ways. You can do that. Okay. If you are looking for a supportive community of women who understands what you've been through or what you're going through, or if you want to learn how to let go, you want to go deeper into, I really want to close this chapter. I really want to move on. And yes, I'm afraid of what's going to come along with this decision to fully let go, whether you're still in the relationship, out of the toxic or narcissistic relationship, but you're still kind of attached, to the person in some way, and you really just want this chapter to close. I would be more than glad to support you. Click the link in the description box below called the Relationship Detox is the link, or you can go to the relationshipdetox.co to find more information out about my program. But that is where I go deeper into supporting women to move on, to heal, which also includes evolving, right? You get the full package of support to get out of that, and you don't have to do it alone. I hope that this was helpful for you. If it was, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.